Hey there, Wealth Press subscribers, viewers, investors, and traders. Welcome to another end of week market wrap up. And of course, Roger Scott is joining me now. Roger, how are you?
I am doing great, and happy Friday, and thank you for having me on the show, James. I really appreciate it.
You bet, Roger. Why don't we start with a recap of the data you gleaned on Monday? We talked about the 13 Fs that were filed, and you had pointed out that this was one of your favorite mechanisms for identifying opportunities in stocks. And you told us about a few names, and now it's the end of that week. I'm curious to hear how is that whole strategy playing out, and what else have you gleaned from the 13 Fs filed during the week?
Well, thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it. And you have a very good memory. There's a few stocks that I'm really focused on and that I'm seeing making headways. And in particular, the one stock that I keep going back to, that I'm really interested in, is the Vroom stock. Ticker symbol is VRM. And again, this company just went public in June, and I'm seeing quite a lot of upside because the used car market is heating up. A lot of people are spending money on used cars. Carvana, for example, and this Vroom are something else. And the reason I'm interested is because it's growing so fast. It's expanding at such an alarming rate. And there are very few public companies in that space right now, and I believe that space is going to be increasing. But what we're seeing a lot of consumers take money out of their homes, and a lot of people buying new homes. New home sales numbers just came out. They were, again, second week in a row off the charts. Statistically speaking, within 6 months of people buying a new home, they end up buying a car. So that's a major purchase, and we are seeing that right now. So I believe I believe this trend is going to expand. The stock is holding up very well. And again, it's number 2 right now in the top hedge fund buys.
Is it SEA?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The stock is right now sitting at all-time highs. And when we talked about it, the stock was about $60 a share. It's at $150 a share right now.
Wow.
So,
I just want to interrupt you there, Roger. If any viewers have participated in that trade, we'd love to hear from your experience and how you made out in that trade. So just feel free to email us at jwest@MidasLetter, or Roger, what's your email address?
the best email to reach me at any time is support@marketgeeks.com.
Okay, great. Okay, so tell us more about C.
Well, C Limited is an internet service provider company. It offers digital entertainment, commerce, digital finance services in foreign countries, in third world countries like Philippines, Malaysia, and Singapore. And the company is it's a Singapore company. The thing about third world countries is the type of service providers, the type of streaming services, digital service entertainments that we have in this country and that we've had for several years. They are now just now starting to come out with that. In other words, if you go to Singapore, or if you go to Malaysia, or if you go to Philippines, and not Singapore is quite ahead. But if you go to Taiwan, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, and Malaysia, you go and check into a hotel, and you want streaming video service, whatever it may be, entertainment for your kids or so forth. This is the company that brings it to you. The stock is up 377% over the last year. So, and I am expecting this type of growth from Vroom. I believe we're going to see that same type of development. If you look at the stock, it's up about 25% this year. And the stock, if you look at the chart of the stock, it's right now very firm. And the way I like to buy IPOs when they finally begin trading is, I don't like to buy them as a hot IPO. I wait for them to trade for about 6 months, and then I find the high and the low, and I mark those areas. And if the stock breaks above the high, that's when I buy. So to give you a real number behind this, The stock began trading June, let's see here, June 9th, okay? Since that time, the high has been 73. It began trading right around $40 per share. I'm ballparking it. And then it went as high as 72, 79. And once it goes back above the 72, 79 level, that's when I'm going to be interested in buying it. So I want to see how it's done as an IPO. I want to see the high and the low, and I want to see it trade sideways. And then over the next 3 to 4 months, once it breaks above the high, that's when I'm buying it. And again, I want you to know, since you've said such nice things about my stock picking, I'm going to tell you a secret about my stock picking. This is really my secret. And people don't understand it, and they kind of like, why does he do this? But whenever I look at a stock, okay, regardless of whether I'm going to hold it for a week or I'm going to hold it for a year, it doesn't matter. I want to see that stock have the ability to become a 100 bagger.
Wow.
Well, otherwise, there's absolutely, to me, there's no reason to buy a stock because most stock movement is random. So we want to be always in 6%, always 6% of the stocks in the S&P 500 have the ability to move up 100 times over. Statistically, if you look back 100 years, there's usually 6%. So my goal in life is to be in that 6% of stocks at any given time.
Well, that's an admirable goal for sure. That's great. I didn't realize that number was that high. Now, is that 6%? Is that from the date of their IPO that they go 100 to 100x?
Yes, but keep in mind the S&P 500 changes over time.
Sure.
So some stocks are going in, some stocks are going out, some stocks are going in. Obviously, the stocks that are going up 100 times are not going out anytime soon. But it's always a filtering process going up. But I want to see a stock potential. I want to see the potential for that company to move up 100 times. If it doesn't have the potential to move up 100 times, I'm not going to talk about it. So I want the stocks that have the potential, the highest potential for growth once they're in the S&P 500. So I want a company that's mature and that has I want a company with open sky, unlimited capability. I want to find Amazons. I want those type of companies. Because you see, if you're always looking for a stock that has 10% upside or 20% upside, maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. But I want a stock that has 100 times upside.
Sure.
That way you're looking at leaders. That way you're looking at stocks that are always on the rise, that are always that when news happens, it's usually positive. So that's my perspective. I may not get it. I may not get 100 times, but that's my goal. That's what my eye is looking for when I'm targeting a stock.
Right. Wow. Okay, fantastic. Well, you had some other tidbits for us that were interesting. You mentioned a company called Grow Generation.
Yes, I'm looking at. Let me back up just for a quick second.
Sure.
One of the areas that has become extremely hot with COVID-19 that a lot of people are not talking about is marijuana. People are not working. They're staying at home. They're stressed out. They're using more marijuana and marijuana products. This is undeniable. It's just the way it is right now. They're drinking more. They're using more marijuana. Whether it's recreational, medical, whatever, not, there's more marijuana going around right now. So
that's hilarious.
It is what it is. I mean, our job is to report.
Absolutely.
So as you might have heard, we've talked about my favorite company in Florida. It's called TrueLeaf.
Yeah.
TrueLeaf, ticker symbol TCNNF, the over-the-counter. Folks, you can't trade this company on Robinhood. James, I did not know this, but you can't trade over-the-counter stocks on Robinhood.
Is that right?
Yeah, I just found this out yesterday. So folks, the ticker symbol is TCNNF, but you can't trade it on Robinhood. You can't trade any over-the-counter
I'll share
stocks.
something with you, Roger. You can trade it in Canada on the Canadian exchange under TRUL.
Right.
And so I don't know how that works for U.S. residents, but
And I
I've
appreciate
heard,
you bringing that up.
yeah, I've heard that that it's from some of my subscribers that they have no problem trading CSE stocks, which is the exchange it's listed on. And you know, the only added complication of investing is that you've got to do the Canadian dollar conversion, which, you know, depending on the day, might be a bit of a premium or a bit of a discount. Usually, it's a discount with the state of the Canadian oil patch.
But regardless, if there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
It can be done.
Exactly. Well, especially with a company like Trulieve, like as you pointed out, they're the fastest growing cannabis company in the history of cannabis companies at this point. And you know, with that in mind, I think especially with the attention paid to fast growing companies right now in the context of record S&P, it's well worth the extra effort to buy it on a Canadian exchange if your sole platform is Robinhood. Of course, it's
Exactly.
available as in the U.S. symbol on most of the other platforms. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, you can. The only one I know that you cannot is Robinhood.
Oh,
Just to be clear, just to be clear, and maybe that'll change. I don't know. I'm not, you know, we're not affiliated, but I had my video guy Noah. He was trying to buy it yesterday on Robinhood and he couldn't. So that's how we found out about it. And then a few other people let us know that was the case. But the reason, so the company brought in 120 million, 109% higher than a year ago. So I mean, it's doing something right. But other companies in this space are heating up again.
right.
Because marijuana stocks have been quiet for some time, but things are starting to heat up. But in light of that, and this brings me to this other company that I wanted to say, I'm always the guy where if gold is hot, I'm looking at the shovels.
Right.
And that's what we have here.
Okay.
So what I love about this company, it's completely related to marijuana, but it's not related to their downside, to the regulatory environment and so forth and so forth. So you kind of have your cake and eat it too. The company is called Grow Generation, ticker symbol GRWG. It has 28 locations in 10 states, and they're trying to get to 50 locations in 15 states by the end of this year. So they are growing at a lightning fast rate. They want to go from 28 to 50 stores. Also, the company is a very small company. Their annual gross is only $43 million. So if this stock moves, it's going to move. If institutional money is going to get into this stock, it's going to move. They supply hydroponic equipment, lighting equipment, nutrients, everything you need to grow marijuana.
Sure.
And despite COVID-19, they've had 10 straight quarters of growth in a row.
We're not talking the plants here.
Very good. No, 10 of record growth, but I like that. Revenue's up 120% from prior year.
Yeah.
And same store sales are 49%, and online sales, they're doing a lot of people are buying supplies online, are up 150% from a year ago. Their full year guidance is now 175 million. A few months back, that was only at 140 million.
Right.
So
wow.
This is they generated 2.6 million in net income. A year ago, they were at 1.1 million. This is a small company. It trades on the U.S. Stock Exchange, ticker symbol GRWG, and they have a huge. This is one of those companies that I was just talking about that has the potential to grow 100 times over.
Wow.
I'm not really familiar with a lot of online hydroponic stores, but it seems like whatever this company's doing, they're doing something really right. And the stock price is reflecting that. So I really like this stock for the next couple of quarters.
Fantastic. Roger, I just wanted to add to your comment about the marijuana sector generally. I want to point out that the rejuvenation in the sector is exclusive to American operating companies alone. The Canadian operators are still losing money hand over fist. The news continues to get worse for them. And so just if you're looking at cannabis stocks, it's not really even worthwhile to look at the Canadian contingent right now because our market continues to be small, fractured, and dominated by the black market.
Can I ask you a question, James?
Sure.
Why is there such a big issue? Why is there such a problem right now? I mean, what's the crux of it?
Well, the issue is it's multiple, but the biggest problem is that we have probably 100+ companies in Canada competing for a total audience of 35 million people. And
Gotcha.
so, that's like not even the size of California. So we
Understood.
don't exactly we don't have a huge available audience to begin with, but then we have such a robust black market. Don't forget that during the years of the basement hydroponic illegal grows, British Columbia was sort of like the world mecca for all of that. And so that industry is still very alive and well. And with the less regulation of cannabis and the decriminalization of it, people are more likely to grow cannabis without a license and take their chances with the law, because generally it's a fine. So even
If that.
in Ontario here, in the Haldimand County where I live, we know that there are approximately 50 operations where they're just growing it out in the open. They don't even try to hide it. And in fact, the regional police have started to crack down. There's been several large ticket busts lately. Most
Wow.
recently, 15,000 plants seized. In another operation, it was something like 400 pounds of cannabis were seized that they were exporting to the U.S. So that factor, the persistence of the illegal cannabis market here is the main factor that prevents cannabis companies that are licensed producers from making money. That and a small audience.
Understood. Understood.
And
Gotcha.
then we
Kind
have
of sounds a little bit like what was going on in Humboldt County, North California, for many
right.
decades.
Well,
I'm sure you're aware.
exactly. Well, then there's the other thing. If you look at Canada, like take Aurora for example, the number 2 grower of Canadians in terms of canopy size. They are in Edmonton, and roughly 90% of the cost of cannabis in a high or in a cold climate is HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning in the summer, because we have these tremendous extremes. And with the energy prices where they are these days, it's like electricity is not cheap. It's expensive. And in Edmonton, if you're trying to, turn out 700,000 square feet of cannabis production at minus 30 degrees centigrade for 3 or 4 months of the year, your chances of success are further complicated by those numbers. And it's just a tragedy. At the end of the day, it's like we have no business growing cannabis in Canada, in my opinion, except for the small outdoor crops that we have. We used to buy all of our illegal cannabis from California because it was so good there and it grows all year round. So it's like, what are we doing here in Canada? But True Leaf is truly spectacular. The CEO, Kim, has been on our show a couple of times. You can search those on YouTube and you'll see an interview with her where so there was a short attack on True Leaf, I guess it was last year.
Yeah.
Didn't really take the stock down. I think it was Citron Research.
They did a terrible job.
Yeah.
True Leaf is suing them now as a result.
Sure. And they've demonstrated that since Andrew, I can't remember his last name. Andrew Left, I think it is. He took down Valiant. He was the guy who put out the report called The Smoking Gun on Valiant, which took Valiant down from, I think it was $150 to $6 before it got sort of reorganized. And since then, his research has really been hit and miss. Like he comes out with his long picks are hit and miss. His short picks are generally way off the mark. So you got to take that with a grain of salt.
What they were doing with True Leaf was just vicious. They took a camera and a helicopter or whatever, and they took pictures of their plants. But what they did was they took pictures of plants that were being developed for derivatives. They were being for like what is it called? Crumble and
Extracts.
Extracts. And
Right.
Plants that are used for extracts are totally different than the plants that are used for consumption, because you're extracting, and here you're actually smoking or using the flower.
Sure.
So what these buffoons, excuse my language, did was they took pictures of plants that were not the kind of plants people would be using for smoking, but were using for extraction, and claiming that those were the plants that the company was going to be using for as a flower,
Right.
which was completely misleading the public. And that was a big problem, because, you know, when you're extracting, that's a whole different world than plants that are you. So, and they were trying to manipulate and say that the company was saying they were having an amazing growth. Meanwhile, here's the pictures of the plants, but what they forgot to say was these are not the plants that were used for growth. These were plants we're using for extract. So it was a real deliberate punch in the gut. It was very bad.
And testimony to the quality of Trulieve as a company, that it is able to endure such an attack with only minor bruises. And it did. It took the stock down from that time. It was trading at its all-time high above $17. I think they knocked it down to got as low as $12.
Yeah.
And then that coincided with the broad sector weakness that ensued after April of 2019. And so it made it look like the attack was more successful than it really was. But here we are today. Trulieve's now breaking all-time records again, breaking all-time records in sales, and dominating the entire sector.
And literally opening up a store every other week in Florida. I'm not kidding, James. Every other week, which is great.
I'll look forward to trying out their new store when I come down there next.
There you go.
Yeah, let's leave it there for now, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the round table on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you for having me, James. Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.